WHPC.
Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
A great day to you, and welcome to another edition of My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, along with Nassau Community College student Zach Turkel. Our special guest today is Neil Goldberg, owner of Main Street Board Game Café and former sports producer of New York One News. Neil is going to talk about how he turned his hobby of board gaming into a profession. Welcome, Neil.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Neil, can you tell us a little bit about your background, because it sounds very interesting, and then how you actually got into board gaming?
Well, for about 20 years, I was, as I said, sports producer of New York One News, which was the 24-hour news cable television station in the city. If you had then Time Warner Cable, now Spectrum. And New York One News was really the first of its kind, a 24-hour local TV news station focusing almost exclusively on local issues. It was revolutionary when it came out that there was news on 24 hours a day, just on an endless wheel. And we did the live sports show, and I got an internship there when I was a sophomore in college, and they hired me about a year out of college, and it was for 20 years the only job I ever had, and it was a great job because I got paid to watch sports on television. And
is that job still open, and are they looking for resumes?
No, unfortunately, no. It's gone now.
Darn, we waited too
long.
That
would have been fun.
That's how that ended last September. They decided to eliminate their sports department, and we were the first and we were the last because most local news outlets in the city eliminated their sports department over the previous 5 to 10 years. Don't have to tell you guys, the business of news is changing so fast.
Absolutely.
Most people can't keep up with the changes. And how people get their sports news completely left the local sports newscast. And we had a good run. I have no regrets. I was happy when I came there. Every day was a really rewarding experience. But time to move on.
And this is interesting, but for someone like me, because if I hear the expression board gaming, I honestly don't know. So would you tell our audience, what does that expression mean, board gaming?
Tabletop board gaming is the expression of what the board games were that you think of as a kid: Monopoly, Life, Chutes and Ladders, Risk, which are still evergreen board games that are still in production today. But take the leap as one might take the leap where I said Pong was a video game as a kid, or think of your old Atari or ColecoVision, and then look at what video games are now. Extrapolate that to board games in complexity, intelligence, theme, style, versions of gameplay, and that's what you'll come to today. It is still an unplugged experience, as I like to call it, a game on the board with pieces and dice and cards and money and all the different things that you expect in a board game, but with infinitely interesting and complex themes that require many different skills to win: playing odds, economic theory, pressing your luck a little bit, planning ahead, negotiation, trading, bidding, watching what other players are doing, in a variety of experiences.
It sounds to me almost like what we see as a poker tournament, but with the gaming background, because you're putting mathematics into it, and it's not just little kids playing games.
No, it's not. But I always say the best game allows the most people to play of differing ages and abilities and still have an enjoyable gaming experience. But styles of game, a worker placement game, which is a game where you have several pieces and there are spaces on the board that allow you to perform certain actions, and you place your piece on the board to perform that action. Now that space is blocked. No one else can take that action. So what order are you going to take your actions in to make sure everything you want to do for your next 3 or 4 moves is available?
And you have to be pretty sharp on these games.
It gets your brain going, which is how I got into it. The idea of it's a game, it's fun, but you're not staring at a television and fiddling with a controller. And look, I've played as much video games in my life as the next guy. I won't knock the experience, but to me, a communal social board game experiences is the most fun you can have.
It definitely is, Neil. And what's a board game cafe? Because I'm picturing a Starbucks with board games on tables, and what is that exactly?
So it's got three things, and your description is not far off. We sell these board games, so there'll be a retail section. We will have a full cafe. So think of it as maybe a Starbucks type thing, but with beer and wine, but coffee, some hot food, some desserts, some snack food, some healthy options, all the different kinds of coffee you like. And then we have a library, and we're hoping to open with 500 board games. We'll get there, if not on the very first day we're open. A library of 500 board games that you can pay to sit and play, and have one of us who work in the cafe explain to you, set you up, get you going with the game, as well as a variety of programs we're going to have. An after-school program. You drop your kids for a couple hours. We play board games with them. Couples night, girls night out, corporate events. Bring the staff of your office and either have them blow off some steam by trying to beat each other at something, or have a cooperative experience. There are things called cooperative games where everybody has to work together, and they are versus the game. So either you win or the game wins, and perhaps a better team building experience than dangling someone off a tree.
That seems to the corporate. I really like that because
exactly
it's kind of an inexpensive night out, a couple hours.
Yeah,
you don't have to give up a whole Saturday or something, and sometimes a little bonding, and you get to meet someone in accounting, and someone in accounting meets sales, and they've seen them running up and down the hall all day, but finally they can talk to them and say, I didn't know we both had the same interest in gaming, or maybe their interest is horses or fast cars or something.
Yeah, we're kind of, two ways we'll do it. Either you come to the store and we're thinking of a way maybe we come to you and we bring the games.
Neil, I got a great idea for an event. Bill, I think you'll like this. 2 radio guys. How about radio show hosts tonight?
There you go.
Who is the greatest radio host in all the world?
Exactly.
This guy to my right. He's the best.
And I have another question, Neil, if you don't mind, Bill.
Sure.
How did you fall into the hobby of board gaming? What was your favorite board game growing up?
I had a lot of board games as a kid, but it was all the basic stuff: Monopoly, Life, a couple others. But there was one game I once played at a friend's house. It was called Stop Thief, which was new for its time because it did have a little electronic component to it, which in 1983 was. And it was this little thing that went beep, boop, boop. And it was a game of chasing thieves around a town. And the little thing would give you little clues. And I said to my parents, oh, would you get this for me? I played it at my friend's house. It was really good. And they were like, sure. Little did I know it was out of print.
Oh.
I went around to it. And we couldn't Google it. This was the early 80s. You had to drive around. My wonderful parents drove me around to a few toy stores. Didn't have it. That was it. And I didn't think about it. And life goes on. And about 3 years ago, I'm doing what I usually did in the morning at my job, which was trashing around on Twitter, getting all the latest sports news. And someone who was a board game fan, retweets a link into my Twitter page for a company's bringing Stop Thief back. On Kickstarter.
You were the happiest guy in the world.
On something called Kickstarter, which a lot of board games are on now, where they kind of raise the money to produce the game before they actually go into production. You say, I'll pay for it. I'll buy one, and then if they get enough money together, they are able to produce the game. And it was an absolute rosebud moment. If you ever have something happen, that just immediately you're 30 years in the past, sitting there, and the idea board games. I loved board games as a kid, and I sat there stunned. I immediately, as quickly as I could, ordered a copy of the game. And suddenly I said, you know what? The game, when they do it on Kickstarter, it takes like 6 to 8 months to get the game because they haven't produced it yet. I said, let me go out and buy some board games. I'll play them with my wife. I'll play them with my kids. And I kept buying more and more. My wonderful wife.
How many do you have? How many do you have?
Close to 100 now.
Wow, okay.
And, it's bad because you get it and you play it a couple times and then suddenly you've just bought a new one and the old one kind of, and you got to remember what you have. Got to remember the rules. Not always easy.
I just want to let the listeners know that you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Nassau Community College student Zach Turkel, along with Bill Horan. And our guest today is Neil Goldberg, who is the owner of Main Street Board Game Café and who is a former sports producer of New York One News. Bill, you have a question, right?
I do, and I also an idea. How's that?
Oh, okay.
You know, when you were talking about going back and how this brought you back in time, I'm going to add another event, Senior Night.
Oh,
where
sure.
people play games, whatever their era would be that they liked then, whether it's going back to the 1970s, 60s, 50s, 80s, whatever, that because they actually say when seniors go back and do things from, let's say, the high school to college years, they actually become healthier, they're more invigorated, and it really brings them back. Even literally physical things, Zach, this was surprising to me. Someone maybe bent over using a cane, they become physically stronger because they're seeing themselves in their youth. And this is what they did then. Whatever game might have been popular at that time. So that might be another night.
We're definitely going to have all the classics. I mean, Monopoly, Life, Risk, Stratego, Chess, Checkers. We'll have all of them. That's actually a great idea. I know I want to have the place open.
See, I do good ideas.
During the day for some mahjong groups that I know are in the town and are always looking for.
Now, one of my favorite games, Bill, is Upwards from the 1980s. Even though I wasn't alive in the 1980s, are they back? Upwards?
I think I've seen it.
Yeah,
yes.
Upwards, Rummy Cube.
all those classic party. Those games. They still sell.
Wow.
There's no reason not to stock them. There's no reason not to have them in the store. There's a reason why they're still, 50, 100. How long has Life been in stores?
Oh, wow.
I mean,
a
Neil,
lot.
I'm sure someone's listening and saying, where is this great place?
Okay.
So tell us. And if someone wants to get in touch or if their niece or nephew or their father is interested.
We're going to be at 307 Main Street in Huntington, New York, right on Main Street
I
in
bet
Huntington
that's how
Village.
you got the name.
Yes.
Main Street.
Yeah, I love
See
that.
how smart I am.
Right. It took me hours to think of it. Well, you can go to our website, mainstreetboardgamecafe.com, ST for street. And we have Facebook and Instagram pages, which is probably the best place to go right now. What I've been doing is putting up a lot of pictures and descriptions of the games that we're going to have that are what I consider the best games.
And
going
looking
right
for a
now.
night out, something inexpensive, meet with some friends, talk to them, play games, have a few laughs. A great way to try it and say, I went to that new place, so they're cutting edge.
People seek a social experience, perhaps something more than staring at their phone or doing something electronic where you meet people, you talk to people, you have a shared experience with people. We're going to have also a pretty robust role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, and that kind of thing, which is, is more of an immersive experience. You're almost playing a character as you play. So we're going to have all that.
Why is tabletop gaming making a comeback? Is there a reason now that this is?
I think it's a combination of things. Nostalgia is one. I think the game industry has finally gotten itself into the 21st century in theme and complexity and the way people want to be entertained now. I think...
we just go in cycles? Is that part of it?
Things go in cycles. Everything kind of makes a comeback. And board gaming is having kind of its moment right now. It's the largest growth sector within the toy and game industry.
Really?
It's almost a 20% growth, which is a lot.
Wow! If that was the stock market, we'd be investing.
Even in the 3 years that I've really been into it, I see more and more games coming out each quarter.
It's quite a bull market there for gaming.
Yeah.
Zach, I know before you go into your next question, I'd just like to mention that we're at a point in the show where we like to take a little break, and I'd like our audience to know that I'm Bill Horan, along with Zach Turkel. Our special guest is Neil Goldberg, speaking about board gaming. You're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume, and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org.